Welcome to Devotions Debrief. It's our chance to really dig into a few things that I was talking about on Sunday, other pastors are talking about, just explore them a little bit deeper, and also to really get a chance to reflect on some of the things that we said we didn't get as much time to talk about. Now, this series of Devotions Debrief is based on the sermon that I did recently called The Superpower of Suffering, really talking about Moses' attitude to suffering. In the early part of his story, he wanted to be a world changer. He wanted to alleviate other people's pain, but that when he saw it was going to have consequences to himself, he just ran away. And I think we do that same thing. Like, if we feel like if this is too painful to endure, that we give up doing it. And so our attitude towards suffering or trials or pains or the difficulty of becoming mature can really help us or put us at a massive disadvantage. If our attitude is, I don't want suffering, I don't want this to be difficult, when probably most of the things that we need breakthrough in our lives, we're just simply going to avoid. So I wanted to just bring some encouragement from the scriptures, and we're going to look at Hebrews chapter 12 for these 5 devotions, so that we can just dig into a few of the ideas about how suffering is a form of discipline that God allows or even organizes in our life so that we can mature. Now, just going to look at Hebrews chapter 12. We're going to start at verse 3. It does start earlier, but let's just pick it up at verse 3 to just talk about a few things about that. He says, "Consider him," that's Jesus, "who endured from sinners such hostility against himself, so that you will not grow weary or faint-hearted, because in your struggle against sin, you have not yet resisted to the point of shedding your blood. And have you forgotten the exhortation that addresses you as sons?" He quotes here from the book of Proverbs, "My son, do not regard lightly the discipline of the Lord, nor be weary when reproved by him. For the Lord disciplines the one he loves and chastises everyone he receives." So I want to say the first thing that we need to have when we see suffering and difficulty, what will really happen and what will really help us is if we can get a vision about what's going on, a vision, a perspective of the positive things that actually can come from this. A lot of people feel like when trials come or difficulties or when we're trying to improve or grow, facing counseling that might be difficult, conversations that might be hard, or giving up temptations, that sins that really are things that we're using to make ourselves feel better, the pain of letting go of those things or the pain of going through those things can make us really feel detached in a sense. Rather than see the big picture of what's going on, we just end up focused down in a very small area of our lives, and we become obsessed about, we can't do this, we don't get that, because we lose the perspective. So what the Bible does for us is it helps us to see the bigger picture. And the biggest picture of all is the picture of Jesus, the picture of how the good thing of our salvation comes out of the suffering of Jesus Christ. So suffering is actually good. It's not destructive, and it's not rejection. It's actually good, because he said we can grow weary and faint-hearted. Now, you've probably experienced that whenever you're going or God's asking you to go through something difficult for a good end, that we can get really weary and worn out by the trial that we're enduring, the trial that's producing maturity, but it's painful at the time. And so we end up kind of feeling like, wow, maybe God doesn't love me. Why is he letting this happen to me? And that's why the encouragement is very clear there. He's treating you like sons. He's treating you like his own children. That's the way parents, good parents are, is they actually make sure that their children go through disciplined training in their life so that they can succeed. It's not rejection, it's actually acceptance. So he wants to give you that perspective. The thing that he may be working out in your life that right now feels painful, or the thing he's asking you to take on that might feel like a loss or a pain, is actually a sign that God is trying to draw you closer to him. So I'd like you to just check your heart right now, and just through this day today, does any of the pain, the trial, the difficulty, or the apprehension of those things, any of those things making you feel distant from God, or feeling like you're going to lose out in the big picture? If anything that's happening inside of you, why don't you just check your heart with God and use this moment to say, God, what are you trying to work out in me? What's your vision for what's happening in my life? And how are you going to use these difficulties to help me grow? God bless you as you think about these things today.